Imagine stepping into a courtroom. The air is heavy, the stakes are high, and every word matters. People are nervous, emotions are running wild, and yet in the middle of all that chaos, the attorney stands calm, collected, and in control. Why? Because he knows something most people don't. He knows that conversations are not about overpowering, they're about guiding. And here's the truth most of us miss. The same tools that win cases in a courtroom can win connection, trust, and respect in everyday life. You don't need to be a lawyer to use them. You just need to understand them. Because life, in so many ways, is one big conversation, and every conversation has the power to either build a bridge or burn it down. Today, I want to give you the first courtroom trick that works just as well at the dinner table, in the office, or when you're stuck in a tough talk with someone you care about. And that trick is mastering the pause. Now, if you've ever watched an attorney in a courtroom, you'll notice something strange. When the room gets tense, when someone says something explosive, the attorney doesn't rush to fill the silence. They pause. And it's not an accident. That pause has power. That pause makes the judge lean in. That pause makes the jury pay attention. And most importantly, that pause keeps the attorney in control of the room. Now, think about your own conversations. How many times do you rush to respond because you feel uncomfortable in silence? How many times do you blurt out words just to break the tension and then regret what you said? The pause fixes that, because the pause isn't just about silence. It's about composure. It's about teaching your brain that you don't need to match someone else's speed. You don't need to prove yourself in the next 2 seconds. And you don't need to fear what they might be thinking in the quiet. The pause tells the other person, I'm not shaken, I'm not rushed, I'm right here. And the beauty of it is, you don't need to announce it, you just do it. Someone challenges you at work. Pause. Your partner raises their voice. Pause. Your kid throws attitude at you. Pause. That pause will feel like an eternity at first, but to everyone else, it communicates strength. And here's what happens when you master the pause. People stop expecting you to react emotionally. They start respecting your words more because they see you're not wasting them. They lean in because your silence makes them curious about what's coming next. Just like in a courtroom, the person who isn't scrambling, who isn't flustered, is the person who owns the moment. And let me tell you this, you don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to win every second to win the conversation. You just need to learn to let silence do the heavy lifting. But let's take this even deeper. Why does the pause work so well? Because most people are fueled by reaction. They say something to get a rise out of you, to throw you off balance, to push your buttons. And when you don't react, when you just breathe and hold that space, you take away their power. You set the tempo. You change the game. Imagine you're in an argument. They throw a sharp comment. Instead of firing back instantly, you pause, take a breath, maybe even nod. You know what happens? They get uncomfortable because they expected you to explode. But now you're the one leading. And when you finally do speak, your words carry 10 times the weight. Think of it like music. If every note was played nonstop, it would be noise. What makes music beautiful are the rests, the spaces between the notes. That's what gives it rhythm. That's what gives it meaning, and conversations are no different. Silence isn't the absence of communication. It's part of it. It creates gravity. It creates impact. So here's the challenge. You start practicing the pause. Start small. Next time someone asks you a question, don't rush to answer. Take 2 seconds, breathe, then respond. Next time you're in a disagreement, let there be space before your words. At first, you'll feel awkward. You'll feel like everyone is staring at you. But over time, you'll realize something powerful. People aren't judging you for pausing. They're respecting you for being steady. And here's the secret that ties it all together. Pausing isn't just for them. It's for you. It gives you space to think. It gives your emotions room to settle. It reminds you that you're in control of yourself, no matter how out of control the situation feels. And isn't that what confidence really is? Not knowing all the answers, not talking the loudest, but being unshaken in the storm. That's what the pause teaches you. I've stood in rooms where voices were raised, accusations were flying, and people were losing their cool. And I've seen how one pause, one moment of silence can shift the entire atmosphere. Suddenly, people lower their voices. Suddenly, respect is restored. Suddenly, the room belongs to the one who refused to rush. That can be you. In your next hard talk, in your next tense meeting, in your next conversation with someone who pushes every button you have, you can own the moment with nothing more than a pause. So take this first courtroom trick with you. Remember that silence is not weakness. It's not avoidance. It's strategy. And the more you practice it, the more you'll realize you don't need to chase control. You already have it if you're willing to slow down. That pause is your anchor. That pause is your power. And that pause, my friend, is what will turn an everyday conversation into a moment of leadership, of calm, and of influence. Because the truth is, people don't remember every word you say. They remember how you made them feel. And when you pause, when you stay calm, you make them feel safe, you make them feel heard, and you make them feel respect. That's how you win, not just in court, but in life. Picture this. A lawyer stands in the courtroom, and the witness on the stand is dodging every question. They're defensive, they're emotional, and they're trying to talk circles around the truth. Now, what does the attorney do? They don't get louder, they don't get lost in arguments, they don't start fighting fire with fire. Instead, they ask one simple, clear question at a time. And here's the genius. They never let go of the question until they get an answer. That's the second courtroom trick, focus, and narrow. Most people don't realize this, but the average conversation falls apart because we give the other person too much room to wander. We pile on 10 points at once. We bring up everything they did wrong for the last 6 months. We scatter our thoughts all over the place, and then we're shocked when the other person feels overwhelmed or refuses to engage. But a good lawyer knows better. They know that precision beats volume. One question at a time, one idea at a time, one point at a time. That's how you cut through the fog. And that's exactly how you need to handle tough conversations in everyday life. Imagine you're talking to a coworker who keeps missing deadlines. Instead of saying, "You always drop the ball, you're unreliable, and you're holding the whole team back," try narrowing in. Pick one example. Ask, "What happened with the project last Thursday?" That one question forces clarity. It removes all the excuses, all the noise, all the back and forth, and brings the conversation to a specific, undeniable reality. And when you stay there, calm, focused, persistent, the truth comes out. Not because you attacked them, but because you didn't get distracted. Here's the thing about people. We're natural escape artists in conversations. The moment we feel cornered, we start dodging. We change the subject, we exaggerate, we get defensive, we throw the spotlight back on the other person. And if you're not careful, you'll follow them right out the door of the actual conversation. But if you hold steady, if you keep narrowing in on one clear point, you send a message, "We're not wandering until this part is resolved." That's where influence happens. And let's be honest, this is hard. Because in real life, emotions rise. You want to throw every frustration you've ever had into the mix. You want to unload. You want to say everything all at once and get it off your chest. But here's the truth. When you say everything, you say nothing. When you bring in the past 10 arguments, the last 3 mistakes, the whole list of wrongs, you don't sound powerful. You sound scattered. And scattered doesn't get results. Focus does. Narrowing does. One point at a time does. Now let's break this down into what it looks like in real life. Say you're in a conversation with your teenager about their grades. You're frustrated, you're worried, and you want to tell them about responsibility, about their future, about every choice they've made that's led them here. But instead, you take the courtroom approach. You breathe, you focus, and you say, "Why didn't you turn in your history assignment last week?" That's it. Not 10 subjects at once. Not the whole weight of your anxiety. Just one clear, undeniable point. You let them answer. You don't move on until they do. And suddenly, you're not spiraling. You're directing. You're leading. This isn't about being cold. It's not about being harsh. It's about clarity. Because clarity cuts through defensiveness. Clarity removes confusion. Clarity forces responsibility. When you keep your words narrowed and precise, the other person can't hide in the gray areas. They can't bury you in what about isms. They have to deal with the truth right in front of them. And here's the best part. You don't need to argue. You don't need to overpower. You just need to hold the focus. Let me tell you something. The loudest person in the room isn't the one in control. The clearest one is, and clarity doesn't come from saying more. It comes from saying less better. Think back to the courtroom. The lawyer isn't asking 20 questions at once. They're asking one. They're patient. They're precise. and they don't budge until they get it. That's not aggression. That's strategy. That's leadership. And you can use the exact same strategy in your conversations. Let's say you're in a conflict with your partner. They're upset, you're upset, and the argument is spiraling. Instead of throwing 10 things into the fire, you stop and narrow it down. Okay, let's stay with one thing. Last night, when you didn't call, what happened? You see what that does. It shrinks the chaos. It takes something overwhelming and makes it specific. And when it's specific, it's solvable. People respect focus. They might not like it in the moment, but they respect it. Because when you focus, you're not playing games. You're not dodging. You're not bringing in smoke and mirrors. You're saying, I'm here for the truth, and I won't move until we find it. And that, more than anything else, earns trust, even from the people who disagree with you. Here's what I want you to remember. When emotions rise, details disappear. The hotter the conversation gets, the fuzzier the facts become. That's why focus is your lifeline. Narrowing in on one question, one issue, one moment keeps the conversation tethered to reality. Without it, you get lost in accusations, distractions, and circular arguments that go nowhere. But with it, you stay grounded, you stay clear, you stay in control. And listen, you don't have to get it perfect. You're going to slip sometimes. You're going to get pulled into side arguments. You're going to want to bring up the past. But the more you practice this, the more you'll notice how powerful it feels to stay centered on one thing at a time. It's freeing. It's grounding. It's how you stop losing your voice in the storm. So here's the challenge I want to give you. This week, when you're in a conversation, whether it's with your boss, your spouse, your kids, or even a stranger, practice narrowing. Don't bring up the whole list. Don't get lost in generalizations like you always or you never. Pick one clear example. Stick with it. Ask the question. Hold the space until it's answered. And watch what happens. You'll feel calmer. The conversation will stay clearer. And you'll notice something amazing. You don't need to win every word to win the respect. You just need to stay focused. That's the second courtroom trick. Not a louder voice. Not a bigger argument. Just precision. Just narrowing. Just the discipline of keeping the conversation anchored in one clear, undeniable truth at a time. Because in the end, people don't change when you overwhelm them. They change when you give them clarity. And clarity comes when you stop scattering your words and start sharpening them. So the next time you step into a hard conversation, remember this, you're not trying to bury someone with your words. You're trying to build a bridge with them. And the only way to build anything strong is one brick at a time. That's how you win in a courtroom. That's how you win in conversations. And that's how you win in life.